Thank you for joining us, the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Richard Beach.
And we're here again today with 3 streaming platforms. We have our TikTok friends over here on the right. We have our Instagram friends on the left. And YouTube is right in the center. And today we're going to talk about a number of new EV things that are developing. And as we mentioned earlier, your questions really determine our content. So feel free to ask, and we'll see if we can answer. One of the first things I wanted to talk about was there is a headhunter that worked for SpaceX, Dolly Singh, who was asked, is Elon the next Steve Jobs? And Elon, of course, is a very prominent figure in the EV space, and I found this one interesting. She says, and I quote, "After working directly for Elon Musk for 5.5 years and having countless hours of meetings with him, I'm reasonably qualified to answer this question. I was formerly head of talent acquisition at SpaceX." That means headhunter. She went out and found talent. Mm-hmm. "Working for Elon has been one of the most fulfilling experiences of my life and one for which I am deeply grateful." She goes on. She says, "Elon is without question one of the most brilliant, dynamic, and charismatic people that I have ever met. It was an honor to build an effective working partnership with him and help build one of the world's most amazing companies. I have recently read articles," she continues, "comparing him to Steve Jobs, but Mr. Jobs has nothing on Elon. Elon is Wernher von Braun, Howard Hughes, Henry Ford, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and every other badass all rolled into one. Elon reads voraciously. He taught himself how to design and build the world's most advanced rockets and spacecraft by reading books. Elon is an astute student of history and has studied all the greats mentioned above and many others. He combines their insights along with his own innate, almost unnatural talents. Elon is also a phenomenon, some sort of exceptional freak of nature. His mom, Mae Musk, a stunningly beautiful spokeswoman and professional speaker, congratulated him on a recent success with SpaceX and Tesla, and in that private conversation, she said that his only response was that he was just getting started." So, again, I find it fascinating that the man reads. That's sort of a dying art these days, but books are definitely not antiquated and add some dimension and measure to our understanding of the world.
I agree, and it's every time you hear about a successful person, what they do, reading is part of it.
Very much so, yes. So in the last session, we talked about the large service center, and I call it Tigard, Oregon. Apparently it's Tiger, Oregon. And we didn't know exactly how many square feet, but one of our viewers actually chimed in, Mike Fink, who's been a longtime supporter of our channel and our company. He says, "The new Tesla Service Center in Tigard, Oregon is open, and it's huge. Located across the street from the Washington Square Mall, it's an old Toys R Us store, built in 1992 and about 60,000 square feet. For those of you interested in the address, it's 165 Southwest Cascade Avenue in Tigard, Oregon." Just to give you some perspective on how big that is, well, of course, there's a picture there, but our new service center now is 18,000 square feet, and we think we're swimming in excess space. This thing is over 3 times larger, so they should have plenty of capacity to handle Tesla repairs at the service center. Do we have any questions so far?
Let's take a look.
Yeah, we got one on TikTok. So what do you think of the new Mustang Electric? I think they're talking about the Mach-E.
Oh, the Mach-E, yeah. We actually had the opportunity to not only see one up close, but test drive it a few weeks ago at an EV meet here in Cave Creek, Arizona. You know, I'm a 60s product, and we were into muscle cars. And, you know, the 65, 66 Mustangs had a particular look and feel to them. They were small, they were nimble, they were fast. This Mach-E definitely is bloated. It's much bigger, much heavier. And it doesn't really have too many of the original styling cues which they attempted to preserve from the early Mustangs. But other than that, it's a wonderfully fast EV. It definitely meets the goal of sustainable energy. And for the Ford faithful, they now have a pickup truck and they've got a Mach-E, so there you go.
Okay, we got another one here from YouTube. Somebody wants to know if we're going to collab with Sandy Monroe anytime soon.
Good question. Are we going to collaborate with Sandy Monroe? We have the ultimate respect for Sandy Monroe and his organization. They do things similar to what we do, but a bit different. We're more on the service side of things. They're into the exploratory processes of looking to what's inside and have been doing a great job of taking apart some of these newer vehicles and revealing what makes these things tick and how they work. As far as a collaboration, we're getting close to that. We're definitely partnering on some more things these days. And I'd love to have Sandy come here. We go there and we start to play together in this EV space.
Yeah, it's definitely in the cards in the future. Okay, we got a couple more from TikTok here. Just kind of a general question. I have a Model S under warranty. Are there common faults that go undetected?
All right, so there's an owner that has a Model S under warranty. Are there common faults that go undetected? Well, most of the design issues have been flushed out since the Model S has been out since 2012, 10 years. There are the predictable failure points, which is going to be that main propulsion battery. Many of the early problems with water ingress, the seals not being substantial enough, those types of things have been resolved. And the only thing that I can think of that you can expect at this point is at some point that big battery is going to die, and it's still not cheap because they're not mass producing them to the extent that brings prices down. But in the meantime, the Model S is it's a legendary car. When it came out in 2012, it broke all records at that time. Any other questions?
Let's take a look.
Yeah, you got anything on Instagram over there, Richard?
I don't.
Okay, so here's one from TikTok. How do you like the Lucid Air?
How do we like the Lucid Air? It's a phenomenal car. In fact, part of our agenda today is going to be to look at some of these other new emerging EVs that are just turning the automotive market upside down in terms of performance and styling. The costs are still somewhat prohibitive, but it's an exciting time to be an automotive geek. Personally, I like the Lucid products. I like their game plan. I like their entry into the market, similar to what Tesla did, which is, as Elon pointed out, provide a smackdown to ICE cars. Well, Lucid's gone a bit further, and they're not only providing a smackdown to ICE cars, but even their competition with making some extremely powerful cars. Feedback, we've had little because not too many people with Lucid show up at our shop since we're mostly a Tesla shop. But so far, overwhelmingly positive.
All right. And then we got a couple on YouTube. What is the average lifespan of a car battery in years, in your opinion? What is the maximum lifespan before it needs replacing?
Question is, what is the lifespan of an electric vehicle battery? The one that we're most familiar with is the Tesla Roadster battery, which was really the first mass cell cylindrical design. The original design life projection was 10 years, which meant that the Roadsters would have died by 2018. It turns out that they're going on 14, even 15 years and still going strong. So we really don't know how long these 18650 packs are going to last at this point. And the 18650 packs in the Roadster are the same design basically as to what's in the Model S. There will be aberrations, there will be anomalies, there will be resistive cells, there will be leak, water type problems occasionally. But overall, the cylindrical lithium ion cells are actually exceeding all expectations at this point. And I think the Roadster will be the first car that shows us when this mass cell failure will begin to occur.
I had a question on Instagram here. So what would be the cost and turnaround time for an upper control arm for a 2016 Model S?
Upper control arm. You know what? We just did one Friday, and I don't know. I'm not into the financial nuts and bolts of it, but if you call our service center, Gruber Motor Company, they'll certainly be able to quote you a price based on recent replacements.
Perfect.
Phone number, by the way, 800-658-5883, extension 388.
All right, you guys want to dive into another article? I'm pulling some questions back here.
I've got one here. Tesla sales swell 105% year over year, considerably more than any other company. 105%, of course, is doubling in sales, and it's more than any other brand. The closest following manufacturers were GM at 40.9% and Daimler at 40% growth year to year. And the question is, could this indicate that Tesla is growing their market lead in EVs in the US? Secondly, it turns out Tesla's market share now, compared to all the others, is estimated at 4.1% overall. This means the brand controls nearly double its market share compared to the same time last year, which was only 2.3%. The stats also show that GM, Ford, and Toyota remain market leaders in overall sales, with GM controlling 16.4% of the market and Ford controlling 13.7%, Toyota controlling 14.8% as well. It looks like EVs are definitely beginning to dominate and take over. It'll be interesting to see what happens over the next 5 to 10 years as a lot of these states and countries now, and even manufacturers, have mandated that they're going to be moving into the electric space by 2035 and 2040, 2030 even.
Just the fact that Tesla was able to double, despite all of the supply chain issues and manufacturing issues and this, that, and the next, I mean, that just goes to that speaks to how established they are and how forward this EV thing is going.
Oh, the demand is just overwhelming. And you're right, with all of the problems that they faced during COVID and supply chain issues, to have that kind of growth, just think if there weren't any of these barriers, what would happen to the growth based on this type of demand? You've probably heard us talking about the Tesla Roadster not only being really the first electric fun sports car, but how none of the manufacturers have really caught on to the fact that people don't just want electric vehicle sedans, four-door sedans, you know. People like convertibles. People like brightly colored sports cars. Well, it looks like another manufacturer has stepped up to the plate, Polestar, the Polestar 6. What we have here is do we have that picture up for our viewers, Jesse?
For the Polestar?
Yeah. It's
It's
a...
in the Facebook group?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pulling that up right now.
Let's put that up on the screen. There we go. Here's an 884 horsepower electric Roadster. It's a two-door. It is a four-seater. There's another picture here showing it from the top. And I don't know, I'm kind of a sports car guy that's used to having two seats. And putting 4 seats into a sports car, a Ferrari, for example, it just doesn't fit well with me. But, you know, maybe somebody wants to take their dog or put grandma in the back at certain points. So this Polestar 6 actually will allow you to do that. But if you notice the styling cues, this is very much like the Tesla Roadster. Convertible, of course, with hard tops and soft tops. And it is definitely, I think, going to appeal to the EV population. Now, here's some statistics. The Polestar came out with this Polestar 6 convertible, and they took pre-orders earlier this month. The vehicle was able to sell out in under a week. Now, does that tell you, EV guys, that you know what the demand for a fun sports car would be in the EV space? Now, not only that, it not only sold out in less than a week, but it was a $200,000 price tag, which was not enough to scare away 500 people from reserving this vehicle's limited edition LA Concepts model. Now, do the math here. That's $100 million in pre-orders. That should probably feed a little bit of startup costs and development on this car. Volvo, of course, has had other products like this that they've attempted, which was the Polestar 1. It was in 2019, Polestar introduced this vehicle as a high-performance coupe. Much like the Polestar 6, the coupe was praised for its innovative design language, unique powertrain, and symbolic nature as Volvo's returning to creating two-door vehicles. However, after release, the car faced criticism for its heavy curb weight and less than stellar performance for a $100,000 plus price tag. The criticism could arguably why the vehicle didn't achieve the public attention it could have. Well, has Polestar learned its lesson? Gone is the Polestar 1's strange hybrid powertrain, and in its place we have the Polestar 6 with a fire-breathing 885 horsepower dual all-motor, all-wheel drive that will peel your shoes from your feet and put your tongue through the back of your head.
Those are some bold statements.
Now, is Polestar ahead of the competition? Well, at this point, it looks like they are because there is currently no convertible offerings from any major manufacturer. Now, while the Polestar 6 may not be as powerful as a Porsche Taycan or Tesla Model S, it can beat the traditional Tesla Roadster, Dodge electric muscle car, or the electric Porsche coupe that is coming to market. So Polestar 6 will have a chance to show that electric coupes can still be fun and hang with the best, but they need to move quickly if they want to beat out all of the class leaders. So what do you guys think of this convertible Polestar 6? Looks like we're getting comments.
I'm on board with it. I think it looks amazing. I like the more. It feels a little bit more boxy, you know, and I like that a lot. I'm definitely a boxy guy. I mean, if you can't tell by my truck.
Yeah, that's true. Your truck is definitely boxy.
It's a square. I don't have anything here on Instagram as far as questions
go. We got a
go.
couple back here. First, somebody wanted to know, how did they get a T-shirt of our company?
How do they get a T-shirt of our company?
So we might need to work on some merch, it sounds like.
It does look like it. We need to get a swag section on our website so that people can buy some of this cool stuff.
So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned, absolutely.
Gruber eyewear on the sideline as well.
Eyewear and shirts, yeah.
Just for all those people with the sunglasses questions, you'll be able to get your own soon. We had another question from YouTube from the same guy that was asking about battery life. He kind of wants to know, is an 8-year warranty and $150K adequate in your opinion? We're just trying to, I think he's trying to see, is the current offering adequate, because he's hearing a lot of batteries failing outside that warranty. That's typically when they come to us though, right?
That's when they come to us. And, you know, really an 8-year warranty is pretty substantial if you think about it. That was one of the things that Tesla was very much sold on was that in order to increase adoption, they needed to have a really beefy, hefty warranty, and usually manufacturers begin to trim that back after they've met their objective to gain market share. But the batteries can fail at any time. During the 8-year period, after the 8-year period, definitely once they reach end of life. And like we mentioned earlier, we really don't know what end of life means yet for these cylindrical cells. Now, the Polestar 6 wasn't the only one that is coming out with a really cool looking EV. Can we bring up the next picture there, Jesse? The Buick Wildcat. Now, this is a concept car, but sometimes these concept cars make it into production. And the other thing that I found fascinating with this particular car from Buick is they already had an EV name for their car before EVs were even popular. Anybody remember the Buick Electra? Well, it's a fitting name, and it looks like Buick is going to continue with that name for their EVs. Now, they also, GM also decided that they're going to offer buyouts to U.S. Buick dealers who don't want to make the investment related to the brand's all-electric transition. The head of Buick said in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, "All of Buick's roughly 2,000 dealerships will be given an opportunity to take a buyout." Global Buick boss Duncan Aldred said in that interview, "That would mean giving up the franchise and no longer selling Buicks. But most dealers also sell other GM brands," adding that Aldred was scheduled to outline this plan at a virtual dealer meeting on Friday. Now, GM realized that not everybody necessarily wants to make that journey depending on where they're located or the level of expenditure that the transition will demand. And this was an eye-opener for me. If they want to exit the Buick franchise, they will give them monetary assistance to do so. The reason that some of these dealers will not want to continue is in states, for example, where EV sales are expected to remain low. Shifting to an all-EV sale program also requires dealers to invest in charging hardware, additional staff training, while limiting potential revenue from regular maintenance, which EVs require less of than internal combustion vehicles. I found this interesting because it's well known that car dealers don't make their money on car sales. They're paper-thin margins. Where they make money, where they generate revenue to keep the machinery running is service. And an EV is going to predictably have less service requirements than internal combustion engine vehicles. So we'll have to wait and see how this whole transition with Buick occurs and how many dealers remain with the program. There are also regional considerations. In the Midwest, for example, EV sales may not be as brisk as in, Orange County. So that's another consideration.
It will only be a matter of time. It's what, by 2035, all vehicle sales must be electric?
In California, at least, yeah.
In California? Okay.
So TikTok, what have you got for us?
We got a couple of questions back here.
Okay.
Is the LiveWire an EV you would consider working on in the future? I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
That is the Harley-Davidson electric bike.
Would we consider working on that? Anything electric vehicle we would consider working on. At the present moment, we're buried with Tesla Works, but eventually the other ones are going to start showing up as well. I would venture to say, though, that an electric Harley is going to be substantially less maintenance than an ICE Harley.
I would say so, too. A lot less shaking involved.
So we've got a picture here we want to pop up on the screen there, Jesse. Is that something you can do? It's the electric vehicle with the alternator in the rear. we get asked this question constantly. Why don't the EV manufacturers scavenge energy by putting an alternator on the wheels and charging the battery? And essentially, the belief is that you can create something out of nothing or create more out of something. The basic laws of physics prevent this from happening, even though this is a interesting picture, and it's showing here a pulley mounted to the rear wheel with what appears to be either a generator, DC source, or an alternator mounted to the rear of the car, presumably helping charge the battery. Again, there is no such thing as a 100% efficient device yet. We have not discovered that. So this actually takes more energy than it's able to generate or produce. It's a noble thought, though, if you think about it. Now, you mount a bunch of solar panels on here, and they're aerodynamically mounted. That's a completely different story. Now you're actually adding to the amount of energy that's available in this vehicle.
Which there are some EV companies doing, Aptera, namely. They've got the weird eye drop shaped EV with just covered in solar panels, sporting what they say is going to be a 1,000-mile range.
Awesome stuff. There's even this photosensitive paint that apparently will generate electricity. And these are all exciting things that are in our future.
All right, we got one question back here on YouTube. This is more of a service question. What is the cost of upper control arms and turnaround time for 2016 Model S?
All right, a mechanical question. What is the cost of a control arm for a Model S? Again, feel free to call our service center, 800-658-5883, extension 388, and they can quote you any of this type of repair that you may need on your Teslas.
All right, I think that's all we got for now. I'm going through TikTok, so if you got anything else, well, let me see here.
Check Instagram.
Yeah, we still got about 15 minutes or so.
All right, we're here for you guys. Any questions? This is the time to ask them.
We don't have anything on Instagram just yet. Just off the top of my head, you want to talk about the recent changes we've made to the shop, the recent additions?
Sure. Our shop, the 18,000 square foot service center, is continuously evolving. One of the big improvements over this last couple of weeks is we now have a entry door in the front of the building. It used to be very difficult for cars to maneuver and make a three-point turn getting into the west side of the building. This building that we built this service center in was built in the 80s. And back then, they didn't have the same zoning requirements regarding parking space. So they literally took an acre of land and they put almost an acre 1 acre building on it, which makes any kind of parking a challenge. We are up to 12 lifts now, I believe, and so far that seems to be sufficient for the type of service needs that we have. The Tesla Roadsters continue to come in, and what we're finding is that the potential new failure mode in a Tesla Roadster is single cell failures, resistive cells going resistive, in other words. We have one in Hawaii right now. It's kind of sad. The Roadster has a resistive cell. What happens is the battery safety management system in the Roadster will only allow a charge to the lowest brick or cell in the car. So as the cell goes resistive, it's not able to charge to the same levels it did before. And what happens is the range that it used to charge to begins to diminish. A typical Roadster these days that is aged will charge in the 150 to 160 mile range. As the cells become resistive, or a cell becomes resistive, it goes down rapidly at times. Some lose as much as 10 miles per charge. This one is dying in Hawaii, and the problem is our recovery method to repair something like this requires hydraulics, it requires lifts, it requires lots of time, none of which we can do in a traveling road show. So unfortunately, this is one of those roadsters that is beginning to die, and we're all just going to stand by and watch it happen. As I pointed out to the customer, I know these things are inanimate objects, and we shouldn't be attached to them, but it really does bother us to see one of these cars just simply die because we can't get to it. Now, having said that, if it's a car that's in the United States or even North America, because some cars come to us from Canada, if we get those cars quickly enough, within the first month or two after being bricked, we put those cars back on the road. We find that resistive cell. We take it out of service, and the car never realizes or cares that 1 out of 7,000 cells has gone MIA. But doing it remotely is a problem.
Okay, and we got some questions coming in on YouTube now. What is the criterion for you to stop replacing individual cells and instead replace the entire pack, assuming normal battery degradation only?
All right, fair question. What is the criteria for continuing to resolve resistive cells or fixed cells in a pack versus replacing the whole pack? Well, first of all, replacing an entire pack is about $30,000. Tesla is still making replacement battery packs. They have a long list of customers waiting for those, so the lead times can be as much as a couple of years or more. And so far, at the current state of age for these packs, typically a resistive cell is isolated to one cell. And once we find that cell, we take it out of circuit, that car continues to drive. We've done a couple hundred of these within the last few years, and there's only been one in Texas that came back with an additional resistive cell. Now, that success is not going to continue forever because as these cells continue to age, there will be more resistive cells that will start to accumulate. But at the current time, or at the current level of aging, we're still able to find that one cell and the car goes back to the owner and they continue to drive. We also suggest is getting in queue for that new battery pack because of the long wait times, and you can do that by emailing us at ev@gruber.com. We share our queue list with Tesla every month or two, and there's also a direct email to get on that list with Tesla, which is roadsterservicena@tesla.com.
Okay, and we got some more questions back here. How much has Tesla helped Gruber Motors with information available to you, or is Gruber's collective knowledge based on other experience? How much do you have to MacGyver things?
How much do we have to MacGyver things in order to work on a Tesla Roadster? Well, good question. Initially, Tesla had no idea who we were. 2013, 2014, they were puzzled by our success, not realizing that we've been doing this level of reverse engineering in the critical power world for 30 years. And we usually don't expect support from manufacturers because they're competitors and they see us as competitors, and they certainly don't want to make us any more successful than we are. Tesla, however, realized some years ago that we were a great source for parts because we bought collision damage Roadsters, and they were running out of parts. And from that, a relationship started. We began to support them, and they realized that we don't subscribe to being a hostile competitor, that smart money turns competitors into vendors and customers. No competitive overlap is ever 100%. So synergy and partnership are far more valuable than this myopic, silly notion that a competitor is someone that you have to have that they're a threat to your survival, in other words.
Yeah.
So today, Tesla and Gruber Motor Company are very much in partnership. We help them with old parts, old Roadster parts. We We reactivate vendors. We share technical information. We share tech tips with them. We support their service centers, and we support them whether there's something in it for us or not, because the overall goal is to provide a service to the Roadster community, which is, although very small, these were the people that were the early adopters. These were the people that hung in there with Tesla. Even though the company looked like it was going bankrupt, and they deserve all the support that they can get. So the simple answer is we're in partnership with Tesla, and we're enjoying it, and they're enjoying it.
All right, and we have another one from YouTube. This was related to Model 3, and I missed this one earlier, but he asked it again. Have we seen Model 3 battery failures yet? Now, I'm not sure. Are Model 3s old enough to be off warranty yet?
Well, they're not. The question is, have we seen Model 3 battery failures? We would not see those until they're off warranty. And, you know, Tesla is really the only one that would have any kind of meaningful data as to what the problems are with the battery packs. Although in the communities, we've heard nothing that would indicate that there is an increased level of failures with the Model 3s. In fact, if anything, Tesla typically improves their designs as they grow and expand and go into other vehicle platforms like Model 3.
Okay, and we got a Roadster question. This is somebody trying to buy a Roadster. If you want the best value per dollar for purchasing a Roadster, what features would you seek out? Signature 100, R80, late model year.
Okay.
What would you seek out?
Good question. What would you seek out if you're buying a legacy Roadster? The Signature 100 series cars, which were the first 100 built, have a little carbon fiber plaque, probably more collectible than others. A replaced battery pack, which is the R80 pack. It's an 80 kW pack versus the original 53 kW. Are there any other considerations? Well, the first thing is, in the world of collecting, rarity, provenance, and uniqueness definitely trumps run-of-the-mill. So a signature car should be selling for more than a standard Roadster. Mileage is also a question typically. Is a low mileage Roadster preferred? Well, in the world of EVs, mileage doesn't really translate into that much like an internal combustion engine car where you have, you know, a couple thousand moving parts. In an EV, it's more about age and how well the car has been preserved and taken care of. There are Roadsters that sit outside, for example. That's a mistake. They're not waterproof, and we'll get into that in a video coming up here shortly. And then, of course, wear and tear. How well is it maintained? We've had Roadsters that have been not only in garages their entire life, but in temperature-controlled garages, and they get detailed periodically, you know, pampered and babied. Those cars are typically worth more than your, you know, trashed Roadster, which, by the way, these days we're seeing very few of because people realize that these are going collectible. So to answer your question, what should you buy? Well, if you can afford it, get one of the ones that are either extremely low mileage or that are signature series cars, because in the world of collecting, those are going to go up more rapidly. If you buy a car with low mileage, we have one right now. We have a Roadster that has 1,300 miles on it. Well, this owner isn't going to drive that car for obvious reason. Every time he drives it, it's going to lose some value. It sold, I think, at auction for over $200,000. This particular owner, though, has 3 Roadsters, and he has a daily driver. So if you're going to get a low-mileage Roadster and you want to drive it, get 2 of them. Get one that's beat up and get one that's you know, collectible. For those of you interested, on our website, grubermotors.com, we have a Tesla Roadster matchmaking site, which is completely free to the sellers and to the buyers. We don't take any commissions, we don't have any auction fees, and we provide a lot of support, actually on a daily basis, as prospective buyers and sellers come to us with questions about their car. There is a section called Roadster Matchmaking or Roadsters for Sale, and you can review the couple, 3 dozen Roadsters or so that we have out there that are currently for sale and in play. And again, as I've offered, feel free to call us and get our advice on a particular Roadster. We also have a huge database of Roadsters, which by giving us the VIN number, we'll be able to tell you some background story on that car.
All right, so we're going to do a couple questions quickly here, Pete, because
right.
we're running out of time. But it says, my wife is interested in a Tesla, so I've been looking at 2015 Model S to keep the budget low. What are things I might regret about 2015 and not a newer, like updated range and so on?
Well, a 2015 Model S, someone's thinking of buying a 2015 because they have a budget, is probably going to be a very expensive car in the future because it has free supercharging. And as people figure out that these cars have a lifetime supply of fuel, they will begin to go up in price. So for now, it's probably going to be a pretty good bargain. Your looming Achilles heel with that car is going to be a battery replacement at some point in the future. It won't happen this year or next year, but it'll happen more rapidly than a brand new Tesla Model S or any of the other platforms.
Okay, and then another question: somebody wants to know if we have how do they get a repair on the East Coast? Do we have a shop on the East Coast? Do we recommend?
Yeah, how do you get a repair? What type of vehicle did you need repair on the East Coast? A Model S or a Roadster?
All right, and while we're waiting for that answer, another question: do Roadsters qualify for collector car insurance?
Yes, collector car insurance for Roadsters. You know, the ones that I used to use with my collector cars were companies like Haggerty, for example. They specialize. And oftentimes they reduce the rates if you limit the amount of miles that you drive it each year. For me, taking cars to car shows, that was a no-brainer because it wasn't quite like my daily driver that I put 20, 30,000 miles a year on. But yeah, if you search, you'll find quite a few companies that offer collector car insurance for cars like the Roadster, which is becoming collectible. And it's not really a daily driver anymore. Let's answer that question about do we have a service presence on the East Coast? The only service presence we have is in Phoenix, Arizona currently. However, the type of work that we do with Roadsters, people ship those cars to us. And transport costs are not that outrageous. We handle the coordination and the transport for the customer. And because there's usually additional work done to a Roadster, proportionately speaking, the transport cost is much, much smaller than the final work that takes place on a Tesla Roadster.
Okay, and somebody was saying there's a shop on the East Coast called WK057. Haven't heard of that? Have you heard of that, Pete?
Yeah. He's trying to think of his name now. He's been one of the pioneers in the EV space. Does a lot of work with converting Tesla vehicle modules for solar applications. Hughes is his last name. I don't know if he is prepared to take on an influx of service business because his shop tends to run pretty small and limited, but it's certainly worth checking out. Jason Hughes, there you go. I just remembered the full name.
All right, and I think that's it. If you want to go ahead and wrap it up and let everybody know what we have going on the next couple of days.
Okay. Thursday is our second podcast this week. This one snuck up on us quickly because we were off yesterday. See, we actually have paid holidays here. So anyway, Thursday, same time, 8:30, we'll be doing our next podcast. Are we releasing any videos this week, Jesse?
It's still up in the air. I'm going to try and finish it today, but we should have another Roadster Gallery video out tomorrow.
Okay, that's true. Wednesday is our Roadster Gallery video where we feature a special over-the-top Roadster.
And for everybody that has been asking, and you can repeat this for TikTok and Instagram, we are in the process of making a video about the grid.
Okay. For those of you that didn't hear Jesse, we are working on a video, doing lots of research right now for a burning question that we get asked often. is the grid going to be able to handle the influx of EV adoption? And in some cases, like California, where the grid is already stressed with rolling brownouts, how will they be able to accommodate a conversion to EVs? So those are the things that we're working on, and that video will be available within the next week or two. So again, thank you for joining us. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. It's always a pleasure. Bring your questions, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.